The story begins in a village that's been destroyed by powerful monsters, with all humans killed except for a young girl. A boy is also present, witnessing the tragedy. This moment sets them on a path to greatness as they join forces to fight the monsters. The boy kneels and kisses the girl's hand, causing a collar to form around his neck and releasing a surge of energy. To understand the significance of this action, we need to go back to the boy Yuki's school. Yuki and his friends are tasked with cleaning the classroom every morning, but it feels like Yuki is doing all the work while his friends slack off. Yuki is frustrated with his friends for not helping and sees them as unreliable. Yuki is excellent at cleaning, and his friends wouldn't be much help even if they joined in. The girls at the school often arrive late, and Yuki and the other boys can't complain about it because girls in this world have special powers that make them more valuable to society. As a result, boys are considered second-class citizens and end up doing undesirable tasks. One of Yuki's friends arrives with a torn shirt button, but Yuki is prepared with a sewing kit. Yuki skillfully sews the button back on at high speed, impressing his friends. However, Yuki doesn't think this will help him get a girlfriend, so he doesn't boast about it. His friends ask where he learned such skills, and Yuki reveals that his older sister taught him. She encouraged him to learn cooking, cleaning, and other skills, as boys in their world don't have special powers and need to be self-reliant if they want good wives. Yuki shares that if he didn't learn something or didn't do it well enough, his sister would put him in a headlock until he got it right. One of Yuki's friends sympathizes with the challenges Yuki faced, but the other friend is puzzled because he heard something terrible happen to Yuki's sister. Yuki avoids discussing the topic and shifts the conversation to focus on their class for the day. In the evening, Yuki leaves a job fair feeling down because he realizes he'll have to start a career soon. He's worried that he might have to work hard for the rest of his life. While walking, he sees a signboard listing the number of accidents that happened this month due to Mato incident. More than 30 people lost their lives in these incidents, but Yuki doesn't pay much attention to it. Instead, he's focused on the idea of having a normal job and living a regular life. However, he doesn't want to be just an ordinary person in this world. He hopes there's something he can do to make a difference. Yuki's wish to not be ordinary comes true sooner than he expected. He notices that the environment around him becomes extremely foggy, making it hard to see. This reminds him of an incident that happened to his sister. He realizes he's been pulled into one of these Mato incidents. A powerful gust of wind blows through the area, clearing the dense fog and revealing a dark world where Yuki now finds himself. Trying to stay calm, Yuki uses his AI assistant to seek advice. He receives information about the nature of these Mato events. They involve an alternate dimension accessible through gateways called doors. The problem is that these doors open randomly all over Japan, and many people accidentally enter them, like Yuki did. Countless casualties have occurred due to these accidental crossovers or the creatures from this dimension entering Japan. The only advice the AI can offer Yuki is to wait for rescue by the Demon Defense Corps. In this strange and dangerous dimension, Yuki is left with little choice but to hope for help to arrive. Yuki initially considers staying where he is as advised, but quickly realizes he's in danger. Right where he entered this world, a creature called a Shuuki was lurking underground, waiting for him to land. Staying put is no longer an option as the Shuuki tries to kill Yuki with a powerful attack. He narrowly escapes the attack, but he loses his internet connection on his phone, leaving him on his own. He runs away from the Shuuki, but he soon reaches a dead end. The Shuuki calls in more of its kind to attack Yuki, and with death looming, Yuki looks for anything to defend himself. He grabs a rock, but it only angers the Shuuki further, and it lunges at him. Yuki believes his fate is sealed, destined to become just another casualty in this dangerous dimension. However, before he becomes a statistic, another, even more terrifying monster arrives to save him. Yuki notices a person riding on the back of this new monster, and she assures him that she's here to protect him from the vile Shuuki. She unsheathes her sword with a powerful gust of wind and swiftly dispatches the Shuuki attacking them, leaving them in a pile of blue flames. The monster she rode in on is torn apart by the remaining Shuuki, but she regroups with Yuki to keep him safe. She introduces herself as Commander Kyouka Uzen and tells Yuki to stay behind her if he wants to survive. The situation becomes more dangerous, so they need to make a quick escape. Kyouka uses a fallen Shuuki, turning it into her servant by putting chains around its neck. She instructs Yuki to get on it so they can flee from the pursuing Shuuki. As they escape, the team fires shots at the pursuing creatures. The rest of Kyouka's team arrives to give their report. They inform her that there are no signs of any survivors in the area. She orders them to expand the search radius in case they miss someone. She uses her powers to scan the area but doesn't find any people. Instead, she discovers that they are being surrounded by more Shuuki. She relays this information to Kyouka, who orders her team to deal with the incoming Shuuki while she ensures Yuki's safety. Meanwhile, Kyouka's team springs into action. She transforms her arm into a machine gun and starts shooting down the Shuuki to create an escape route for Kyouka. Another team member grows to an enormous size to crush some Shuuki. We learn that the women who gain powers from the peaches exclusive to the Mato are the best when it comes to combat skills. After dealing with the swarm of Shuuki, they regroup in their jeep to check on the little boy they found in the Mato. Mii's ability helped them locate the boy in time. However, they are all exhausted from their efforts. They wonder if Kyouka has safely returned to the dorms, but they trust her skills as a commander and believe she's fine. They still have one more location to check before heading home since they didn't find any more survivors. But the little boy they saved wakes up and panics because he doesn't see his big sister with them. Meanwhile, on Yuki's end, they come across the sister of the little boy, who is under attack by a horde of Shuuki. Yuki wastes no time in jumping down to rescue her from the situation. However, the Shuuki that she had turned into her servant is too slow to escape the horde, and they get surrounded. Kyouka fends off the Shuuki and erects a basic barrier to keep them at bay. She reassures Yuki and the girl not to panic, but one Shuuki cracks the barrier, causing concern. Kyouka thinks that it wouldn't matter if she died here if she were alone, but she has people to protect, so giving up is not an option. Among those who received abilities from the fruit of this dimension, she knows her ability is considered less impressive. However, that won't stop her from pursuing her dream of becoming the Supreme Commander. Given the dire situation, Kyouka decides to take drastic measures and try out her ability on Yuki, as there is no other option. She tells him there is something important she needs him to do to ensure their survival in this situation. Yuki was eager to help, but his excitement faded when he learned he would become Kyouka's slave. Kyouka asked a little girl to close her eyes, explaining that enhanced strength could help them escape, but it required using her ability on Yuki. She reluctantly stretched out her hand, and when Yuki licked it, he transformed into a powerful monster, gaining the strength needed to easily defeat the approaching Shuuki creatures. Kyouka was thrilled to see her ability working well. She placed the little girl on Yuki's back, and with his newfound power, they safely reached the rest of the team, who took the girl to safety. However, the remaining Shuuki creatures combined into one massive Shuuki. Kyouka mounted Yuki again and ordered him to defeat this final Shuuki. Together, they easily defeated it with their combined strength. Once the battle was over, Kyouka's ability wore off, and Yuki returned to his original form. Kyouka's teammates arrived to check on them, but Kyouka asked for some time to talk with Yuki privately. She was surprised by his newfound power, but wanted to address a downside of her ability. She explained that as the master, she had to reward the slave with something appropriate for their work each time. Since Yuki had never experienced intimacy, he considered a kiss a suitable reward. She told Yuki he had worked hard and offered him another kiss if he wanted it. Yuki felt too embarrassed and declined, accidentally knocking off Kyouka's hat in the process. Both were flushed with embarrassment, as they hadn't expected this situation. Kyouka had previously rewarded her Shuuki slaves with pork slices, but they were not as cultured as Yuki. Despite her embarrassment, Kyouka's body compelled her to continue kissing Yuki until he was satisfied with his reward. Several minutes later, Yuki was finally satisfied with his kiss from Kyouka. Kyouka tried to downplay the kiss, and they started discussing the dangers of the Shuuki creatures. She explained that even one Shuuki making it into Japan could cause numerous casualties. Kyouka's goal was to become the Supreme Commander and lead all the other commanders to exterminate the Shuuki once and for all. With Yuki's newfound power and courage, she believed she had a chance to achieve it. She invited Yuki to work with her and her team. Yuki was happy to receive the invitation but admitted that he wasn't exceptional in academics or sports. The only thing he was genuinely good at was cleaning. However, Kyouka appreciated men who could cook and clean, and she admired his bravery in protecting the little girl despite the overwhelming odds. She believed that kind of courage was invaluable in their line of work, and she considered him a great person. Yuki agreed to be her slave if it meant he could become a hero and participate in meaningful activities. Plus, he looked forward to receiving cultural rewards from Kyouka after each mission. Kyouka took Yuki to the head office of her defense force, where he had anticipated becoming an official member. However, he learned that men were not allowed to join the defense force. Instead, he was assigned the role of caretaker for the team, essentially becoming their janitor. The girls had mixed reactions to having a male presence, but they had no reservations about delegating their work to him. After finishing his cleaning duties, Yuki looks around and feels something's off about the place. It's not as nice as he thought. Suddenly, out of nowhere, a Shuuki, a kind of monster, tries to jump him. But Yuki's lucky. He's got this barrier that blocks the Shuuki's attack. Just in time, Ni shows up to make sure Yuki is okay. She tells him that they're in a part of Mato that's known for bad luck, especially the southwest area where they are. In Mato, there's a bigger chance of bumping into Shuukis than in other parts. Mato isn't your ordinary place. It's like a different world as big as Tokyo, split into 8 parts. Each part has its own team to fight off demons. Ni thinks of herself as Yuki's teacher, but Yuki finds it weird to have a kid as his boss. Yuuki tries to put that thought aside when he notices a Shuuki just hanging around. It's awkward. Ni tells him it's not a big deal, just a small Shuuki, and they should ignore it. But Himari doesn't think the same. She gets all action hero and starts shooting at the Shuuki with her Gatling gun like she's in a video game. This makes Yuuki worried because they almost got caught in the crossfire. Himari, however, is like, if I wanted to hit you, you'd be full of bullets by now. Then, she tells Yuuki to start making dinner, and reminds him he's there because Kyouka asked him to be. Yuuki starts thinking how tough it is to be a caretaker, and feels like someone might be watching them. That night, Yuki's cooking skills are the talk of the dorm. Everyone's loving his dishes, even the usually grumpy Himari, who's asking for seconds. Yuki's feeling pretty awesome with all the praise, and he stays positive even when they remind him about his other jobs. He gets back to work, but deep down, he remembers his dream of being a hero, not just a handyman. Yuki's kinda bummed about doing chores all day and shares his feelings, but Kyouka tells him she'll call him for battle when needed. She wants him to keep up with the housework for now. When Yuuki tries to stand up for himself, Himari jokingly threatens to chop off his head. Kyouka knows having a guy as a caretaker might be weird for some, but Yuki's a cleaning pro and crucial for her powers. She asks everyone to be kind to Yuuki and jokingly warns him about stepping out of line. That night, Shushu, who can shrink herself, mistakenly thinks Yuki's peeping on the girls. She threatens to tell the boss and even snaps a photo as evidence. Shushu's been watching Yuuki because she's curious about him. Yuuki tries to explain he was just cleaning, but Shushu's not buying it. Yuuki figures she's after blackmail, but Shushu's just stirring up drama for fun. She wants Yuuki to be her personal helper. Yuuki ends up cleaning her room, but fails to delete the photo. Shushu then makes him do her laundry, snapping another tricky photo. Yuki's feeling down, thinking he's being bullied, when he sees Kyouka and Himari training outside. Suddenly, a Shuuki shows up, and Kyouka takes this chance to teach Himari some moves. She totally wipes out this monster, leaving Yuuki and Himari in awe. Yuki's mind blown by Kyouka's power, and realizes he never wants to upset her. Ni pops in, saying she'll be staying with Himari for a meeting, so Yuki's left to watch over the dorm with Shushu. That evening, Shushu demands a massage from Yuuki. She opens up about growing up fatherless, and coming to Mato for adventure, even if it's dangerous. They end up playing video games, and Yuuki, feeling confident, bets he'll win. But Yuuki keeps losing, and even loses his shirt in the process. Just as they're in the middle of their games, a giant Shuuki attacks the barrier. Yuuki thinks they should avoid it, but Shushu reveals her power to grow huge. The two of them rush outside to face the Shuuki. Yuuki is doing his best to keep up, but the situation quickly escalates as giant monsters prepare to fight. However, Shushu effortlessly grabs and slams it into the ground, displaying her immense strength. Yuuki watches in awe as Shushu sends the monster soaring, then punches it down and crushes it under her feet. Exhausted from her gigantic form, Shushu shrinks back to a more manageable size, but her victory is short-lived. Another massive, blob-like monster attacks her, merging with more Shuukis to grow even larger. Shushu realizes the danger and attempts to grow bigger to end the fight, but something goes wrong, and her powers fail. The monster sees this opportunity, capturing Shushu and landing a heavy punch. Yuuki, feeling powerless, can only watch as the giant monster gains the upper hand. He desperately wishes he could transform, but without Kyouka, it seems impossible. Then he remembers how he transformed when he touched Kyouka's hand with his lips. In a flash of inspiration, Yuuki races to the laundry room, attempting to initiate his transformation by kissing Kyouka's glove. Although it partially works, he knows he needs a stronger reaction. Desperate, he tries her shirt, transforming his foot, and eventually finds her boots. He hesitates, questioning the implications of his actions. Meanwhile, Shushu is struggling in the battle, her body nearing its limit. Yuuki, now partially transformed, rushes to her aid, determined to make a difference. Shushu manages to immobilize the monster, presenting Yuuki with an opportunity. With a mighty kick, Yuuki obliterates the monster's head, turning the tide of the battle. Shushu is concerned about Yuki's recklessness, fighting at half strength, but Yuuki was motivated by her earlier taunts. After the fight, Kyouka tends to Yuki's injury, a consequence of his forced transformation. The others tease him for his brief combat stint, but Yuuki defends himself, acknowledging his inexperience with his powers. He wonders about repairing the barrier, but Kyouka explains that barriers around important areas have self-repairing abilities, as long as the damage isn't too severe. Yuuki comes to a realization. He connects the dots to an earlier Shuuki attack, understanding more about what happened. Meanwhile, Kyouka is busy tending to Yuki's back. The process is excruciating, and Yuuki can't help but wonder if this painful treatment is his reward for defending the dorm. Kyouka, not one to mince words, reprimands Shushu for underestimating their enemy. As a consequence, she orders Shushu to assist Yuuki with his chores. However, once they're alone, Shushu reveals her trump card, more incriminating photos of Yuuki. She declares that she'll continue to be his boss, leaving Yuuki to ponder over his increasingly complicated predicament, and if he'll ever be free from her control. In another dorm, a barrier is shattered, signaling trouble. Another Demon Force team arrives on the scene, quickly assessing the situation. One of them instructs the others to inform their commander of this development. Meanwhile, a girl from the team braces herself for battle, only to realize that her opponent is no ordinary Shuuki. The monster effortlessly bypasses her attack, capturing the two fleeing members. The beast then reveals its true form, throwing the first girl off balance. As she faces imminent danger, a mysterious lady appears, commanding the Shuuki to halt its actions. The lady, exuding authority and mystery, mounts the Shuuki. She reveals her awareness of Yuuki's presence in Mato and expresses her intention to visit him. This brings an end to our episode. If you enjoyed it, then don't forget to like, share, and subscribe our channel for next episode.